sit down, shut up, and pay attention. Nah, I'm just kidding. But in this book by Deborah Mayer, we're going to see that this is not the way that we should treat our students as a collective, like just one body, as a group. In this book, The Power of Their Ideas by Deborah Mayer, she's going to show us how we need to look at the student individually and not really worry about what's convenient for ourselves as teachers, but what's convenient for the students, because what's best for them is what's best for us.
Ideas by Deborah Mayer.
In case you're wondering what's going on here, this is me acting on how I reflected my unity and diversity talk for the first time. When there are pauses and my voice, like this one, comes over, it will be my correction and improvements to my first unity and diversity talk.
A little bit of background on her. She was born in New York City in 1931. She attended and graduated from Antioch College and the University of Chicago. She's also very outspoken and she's very critical of the state-mandated standards and tests. And for 20 years, Mayer helped revitalize public schools in New York City's East Harlem School District. And that's actually where we get the content from the book from. She talks about what she does, and she writes journals of what goes on in there. And needless to say, she's a very, very radical school reformer.
Here are the main points I will be speaking on. The question that Mayer asked, observational journaling in the classroom, how to avoid learned helplessness, and response and reaction in the classroom.
Now she talks about the question, and this is in the first chapter of the book, and she has what we call the wrong question, and she has what we call the right question. Now the wrong question, is it possible to educate all children well? The right question, do we want to educate all children well badly enough? And I totally agree with that is the right question. Now a little bit more on the right question. If you want to be a teacher and you say no to the answer, do we want to educate all children well badly enough, then teaching's not for you. As teachers, we need to say yes. Students are an investment, and when we say yes to this answer, what we're saying is we're taking the responsibility of the kids' failures. So when the students fail, then we fail as well. It puts all the stuff on us, and that we have to make sure that what they're doing is going to help them succeed. That means taking our own ambitions and setting them aside and making sure that what benefits us doesn't get in the way of what benefits them. I had a coach, college coach, who said, all the wins are yours and all the losses are mine. That's exactly how it needs to be in the classroom. That's exactly. With my content area being physical education, I'll act on the question of, do we want to educate all children well badly enough, by not just rolling a ball out and say, go play. I will make sure that all the students will get the attention and help they need to do the activity and participate in it. What I would like to think about as I'm teaching and as I'm coaching, whenever my students and my players, they're successful, that's them. They did that. But whenever they fail, that falls on me. And go back to the benefit, putting what benefits us, not letting that get in the way of what benefits our students. Like, it's comfortable for me to sit down on the ground right here because my back hurts, But that hampers the students in the back of the class to be able to see me. If I have to, I need to, get up on the table so everybody can see and hear me. And that's what I have to do, and that's what we have to do. You have to make a sacrifice that goes against what's good for you, and that's what you have to do. There's another thing that to go along with the illustration of standing on the table. In my physical education classes, I will speak loudly enough when giving instructions and blow my whistle when needed to make sure the students are not confused and so that everyone does not have an excuse for not following the instructions. Mayer does, that it's not actually in the book. She doesn't talk about it, but I noticed it as I was going throughout the books. Does this thing called taking notes, and what she does is she has these journals that she puts down, and you can tell that she writes down and records her observations of what her kids are doing, how they're progressing, things that she notices. She writes them down, And this allows her to record her progress and her students' progress, and it helps her become a better teacher. And this is something.
In physical education and as a coach, I know I will have a large number of students. It could be hard to remember where students are physically and develop physically. So journaling will help me record students' progress and to avoid repeating myself when giving one-on-one instructions as the year goes on. I don't want to say the same thing to a student that I've already said before when they're not there physically.
That I think that we all should do. I mean, if we're in a class like right now, we take notes based on what the teacher says. So why not, as teachers, take notes on what the students say as well? When I plan on teaching and coaching, I plan on taking notes to see what students' interactions with one another, get their patterns, their class participation, who's shy, who's outspoken, which students I tend to call on the most. If I notice that I'm calling on this person over here a lot, then if I record that and see that, I need to be able to go and incorporate and call other kids too. And excuses. I mean, and when I was in high school,
This is a part where I reflected on myself in high school.
used every excuse in the book. It seemed like every time I messed up, was late in practice. When I was late, why I didn't do so good on the test. A lot of times they are the exact same excuses, just to different people. So if I record and write down what my students' excuses are, one, I can see if they're just blowing smoke, or two, actually see if there may be a problem there that we might need to go deeper into. Mary talks about this. We shall overcome. She says this. This is a bulletin entry that she has in the book, and she talks about how this is. She incorporates this into the classroom, and says this was. First of all, came from African Americans during the Civil Rights Movement as a thing of unity, and that we're all in this together. And she says, unfortunately, it's turned into I shall overcome. Mary says that it's important to be independent. However, it's also important to work together and collaborate. Now, this is where I don't agree with her 100%. I agree that it's important to work together and to collaborate, but the context of the kids that she's talking about, I don't think it would make sense, because she's talking about elementary school level kids at a young age. And I feel as if we, as teachers, encourage kids to collaborate with each other and ask for help from one another, then they will develop what is called learned helplessness. And what that is that's just not being able, that's students getting used to help. They end up not knowing how to figure it out on their own.
NASB standard number 3 talks about how students should be able to continue to be active outside of the classroom. If my students have created learned helplessness, this cannot be achieved. So in physical education, in my classroom, I will avoid my students requiring learned helplessness. One way is not repeating myself when students ask me a question about instructions or rules that I have already explained. So when I explain them at the beginning of class, I cannot allow a student to come back, ask me something that I've already gone over, because that will make them acquire learned helplessness. However, if the entire class asks me the same question, then I'll have to answer it, because apparently maybe I didn't explain it well enough. But if it's just one student, I'll have to explain to them that they need to listen more when I give instructions.
But however, when I get to maybe a coach, the high school level, yes, collaborate. I mean, that's all about teamwork. We have to do that. You have to encourage that. But at the elementary level, I think that does more harm than good. And I'm not saying that we let the students know that we frown upon needing help and needing getting help and needing extra time or not being able to do on their own. What I'm saying is that instead, let's just praise independence in the classroom.
In my content area, I'll use specific positive feedback, which Dr. Wiley teaches about in Methods of Elementary PE. This type of feedback is, good job, so-and-so. You did a good job doing this. I'm being specific and I'm being positive, because specific is to one student and positive is good job. So I will use that in my PE settings.
Praise being able to figure it out on your own, not having to go to the teacher saying, how do I spell this word? They what they'll do is they'll end up getting learned helplessness. Now, in order to be able to praise independence in the classroom, that goes back to the right question: do we want to educate kids well enough? All kids well. And what that means is that we have to give them the resources. For instance, about the how to spell a word, we have to have the resources in there like a dictionary, so that when the kids don't know how to spell a word, we can let them know there's a dictionary right over here, so they can learn to figure it out on their own.
In my PE setting, to elaborate on when students come to me for instructions I previously went over, I will have a poster, and that poster will have all the rules and regulations about the activity that we're going over, and I will hang it on a wall. So when students come to me and ask for instructions, I can just point to the wall. Those are the resources I'm giving to them, just like the dictionary. So to praise independence, when I see a student go to the rule poster without coming to me, that'll be a point when I can praise independence, when I can give positive, specific feedback.
Response and reaction. This is a quote that she has in the book. Nothing is more unsettling in the presence of real-life students in real-life classrooms than an uncertain teacher searching for the right response. And what she means by that is there's going to be times in your classrooms, in my classrooms, and as a coach, that it's going to require an immediate response when something happens, like when maybe a little fight breaks out, or a kid says something wrong, or even if a kid asks to get up and sharpen their pencil, or go to the bathroom, or move their seat, or stay inside for recess. Those all require quick and instant responses. You cannot just sit there and search for the right thing to say.
In the PE setting, I will use my whistle when a quick response is needed to get a student's attention.
All instant responses and answers carry important messages to students. What you say, it lets them know what is appropriate and what is not, and why. And so this means that we can't just react really quick. We can't just give them an instant answer. It also has to be the right answer. Like, there's no room for error here. For me, I know that it's going to be a struggle for me.
This is another place where I was reflective.
Because I'm pretty sarcastic sometimes, and I can't be like that around my kids. I can't be that in the classroom, like, duh, I can't do that. Because those things, the way they do that, if I say something wrong, that can allow my students and my players to think less of me, to maybe lose a little respect for me. And once that happens, you almost lost control of your team and of your classroom. Now, in conclusion to this,
In conclusion, I went over and explained how to use and answer the question that Mayor asked, how observational journaling can be helpful in the PE setting and in other classrooms, how to avoid learned helplessness, and the importance of response and reaction.
a quote from the Bible in James 1:3 says, "Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness." And that is so true. It goes back to the right question, taking the responsibility for what the kids do. When the kids, they reflect us as teachers and as coaches. Here are my references.
Very good. Round of applause.